In the twilight of my days, within the confines of a room where the outside world is reduced to mere whispers, I, Arthur Holloway, sit to confront the phantoms of my past. The chair creaks beneath me, a familiar sound in the oppressive quiet, a feeble protest against the weight of my old bones and the heavier burden of my tormented psyche. The dim glow of the lamp casts shadows that sway with the rhythm of my tremors, as though they were the very souls I've come to document stirring restlessly around me. Here, in the silence of my secluded abode, I embark on a journey back through the darkest corridors of my memory, pen poised to exorcise the demons that have clung to me with relentless tenacity. The vividness of the horror that greeted me at the scene of the wolf's first grim masterpiece has not dimmed with the passage of time. It remains imprinted on my mind with an acuteness that feels etched into the very marrow of my bones. The woman, victim number 1 of 22, lay in repose on the floral-patterned sofa, her life's thread cut amidst the mundane sanctuary of her living room. There was a jarring serenity to the scene, a perverse stillness that seemed to mock the chaos of the act that had occurred just hours before. No splatters of violence marred the pale yellow walls adorned with framed photos. No disarray disturbed the neatly arranged knickknacks on the fireplace mantel. Only a profound silence that clung to the room like a tangible miasma. This silence was not empty. It was full of the echoes of the life that had been, a haunting symphony of the mundane now rendered significant in its absence. The absence of laughter, of shuffling feet, of pages turning. A half-finished cup of tea had gone cold on the coffee table, of steam no longer drifting lazily upward. The hands of the grandmother clock on the wall stayed frozen at 10:15, when time had stopped for the room's sole occupant. Her eyes, starkly open and void of the spark of life, were the most harrowing detail. The deep blue irises that once held warmth were now frozen, staring ahead unfocused. Dark lashes rested gently on cheeks that had lost their rosy glow, and her lips were slightly parted as if interrupted mid-breath. They held the final glimpse of a terror so pure it had extinguished all hope of a savior's arrival. In those eyes, I saw the abyss of the unknown, the same abyss that now beckons me to recount this tale of shadows. The pursuit was akin to wading through a quagmire of the mind. Each new crime scene, each new silent victim, 22 souls in all, was a note in a dirge that played incessantly in my head. The chase was a relentless pursuit through a fog of elusive leads and dead ends, a journey that promised no end and offered no respite. My existence became a solitary vigil. The night offered no solace, only a canvas for my thoughts to paint scenarios of capture and confrontation that never came to pass. The faces of the victims haunted me, 22 specters whose silent mouths spoke volumes of the justice they were denied. Within my home, once a haven of warmth and familial love, the cold specter of my obsession took root. The vibrant laughter of my son turned hollow in my ears, a cruel reminder of the joy I could no longer feel. My wife's tender words became distant echoes, drowned out by the cacophony of the silent screams that filled my inner world. The wolf did not merely extinguish 22 flames of life. He encased them in a shroud of silence that suffocated any semblance of peace within me. I had become a vessel haunted by the absence of sound, each quiet moment a ghostly reminder of the void left by those who were taken. Now, as I trace the lines of this grim testament, the pen feels heavy with the weight of the unspoken, the ink a conduit for the sorrow and the relentless guilt that I carry. The act of writing is both a balm and a curse, a means to give voice to the silent torment of the 22 and to the unending quiet that has become my eternal companion. The relentless pursuit led me to an abode of desolation, a place forgotten by time and hope alike. The house, with its peeling paint and the lament of its creaking bones, stood as a monument to decay. Pushing open the door, the scent of decayed grandeur was overwhelming, a pungent cocktail of mold and aged wood that filled my nostrils and settled upon my tongue. I stepped through the threshold as one might step into the pages of a long-closed book. A narrative paused at the climax, awaiting resolution. There, among the detritus of abandonment, I found it. The taunt. A message scrawled with a hand that seemed to quiver with mirth. "Can you hear their silence, detective?" It read, each word a dagger twisted into the fabric of my resolve. It was a mockery. A gauntlet thrown with the audacity of one who knows they walk unshadowed by the specter of capture. That message. It clung to me like the cobwebs that draped the forsaken corners of the house, a shroud woven from the threads of the unsaid and the undone. The chase was a siren song that pulled me further from the shores of my former life, each step forward a step away from the man I once was. The final play of this grim theater was set in a dilapidated theater itself, where once the applause of the crowd had resonated. Now there lay only the hush of abandonment. My plan was to become the bait in a trap that I prayed would be irresistible to the wolf. The stage was set with meticulous care, a tableau vivant representing the culmination of our macabre waltz. As I crouched in the darkness, behind the tattered velvet curtains that once signified grandeur but now whispered of decay, my heart was a drumbeat syncing with the ticking clock. The silence was a living entity, wrapping its cold fingers around my throat, suffocating in its anticipation. Each creak of the settling structure was a crescendo of hope that perhaps the shadow would emerge, that the wolf would finally step into the light. But as the hours waned and the moon sailed across the obsidian tapestry of the night sky, the theater remained devoid of life save for my own. The climax, the confrontation I had envisaged, dissipated into the void, leaving me adrift in the sea of stillness that I had come to know all too well. The night ended not with the bang of capture, but with the whimper of reality's cruel indifference. The days that followed were a processional to the end of all things. My spirit, once an unquenchable flame, flickered and waned in the face of the inexorable truth. He had evaded my grasp, slipping away like smoke through the fingers of the law. The press conference that announced my departure from the force was a theater of a different sort, one where the drama of failure played out on the stage of public scrutiny. The barrage of questions was a cacophony that I barely registered. The camera flashes a staccato lightning storm that failed to illuminate the darkness within me. I stood at the podium, my voice a stranger's, reciting the epitaph of my career. And then, with the finality of a door closing, silence reclaimed me. In retirement, the absence of the chase was a void more profound than the silence left by the victims. The case lingered, a specter that haunted my waking hours and stalked my dreams, a riddle devoid of an answer. The tale of the wolf is one that remains unfinished, the final chapter unwritten. I find myself now a mere specter in the land of the living, a man out of time and out of place, wandering the liminal spaces where light and darkness converge. The whispers of the 22 are my constant companions, their unanswered questions a litany that I am condemned to chant in the solitude of my existence. And so I leave you, reader, not with the resolution you desire, but with the truth as it is. He is a phantom that lingers just beyond the periphery, a chill breath upon the nape of your neck in the quiet moments before sleep claims you. My story is a tapestry woven from the threads of the lives he took and the life he unraveled. It is a narrative paused at the penultimate moment, a breath drawn in and held, a heart waiting to beat. As you close the cover on this account of darkness and obsession, know that somewhere in the stillness, the wolf waits, and the story goes on, silent as a grave and as cold as the space between stars.